Hello, sir.
Hey, Seth.
How's it go? Oh, there
There
we
we
go.
go. I saw outer
Uh,
space for a minute.
the outer space. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, man? How's life?
Not too bad. Thank you for having me on, buddy.
Thank you for taking a minute. Where are you coming out of?
Philly.
Ah, Philly.
So
Philly and
just north.
Kansas. I'm in
Just
Kansas City. Philly and
oh,
Kansas
I
City.
I know, I know. The Kelsey brothers.
Well, yeah, but we do. There's a grit that goes into these towns that's
Yeah,
very, sports driven, blue collar kind of thing. I always feel
yeah,
akin to Philly.
yeah. It was a nice little Super Bowl, except for that last call. But yeah,
You
whatever.
know, let me just tell you something real quick. All right, just hear me out. All right, I'm
Yeah,
in Kansas City. We won, obviously.
yeah.
Never, ever, ever tell us we can't win. Every
No,
pundit said
say,
we were going to
say,
lose that game.
same thing with Philly when we won the Super Bowl a few years ago. Jason was all about everyone said we couldn't win, we
Uh
couldn't
huh.
win, we couldn't win. So it was kind of the same thing for you guys on the flip side.
It, but the Cardinals sin too. I was worried about Cincinnati, but when
Yeah,
that mayor shoved his feet in his mouth and made that stupid Instagram post,
yeah.
dude, what are you doing? What? And not only if you're that dense, okay, fine. But what about your advisors that you're paying a lot of money to? Those people should have said, look, I don't think calling a hallowed institution in a town like Kansas City Burrowhead's a good idea. Just off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was a little tone deaf. It was a little tone deaf.
Weird. Very weird. But
Especially
anyway,
for towns that are known for putting their foot in their mouths as it is.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, Philly, we're very good at putting our foot up our ass. Pardon my language. Oh, we're very good about that. But we are
Yeah.
we are like the best and worst fans in the nation.
You know, I used to always hear at the old Veterans Stadium there was a jail. It was the only stadium. Is that
It
true?
was there was a courthouse.
Okay.
They had a magistrate sitting downstairs, not really a jail holding cell. When you got a little too drunk and you got written up for misdemeanor, you went down there and cooled off.
Wow. Wow, that's unique.
That's Philly for you, baby. It's
Yeah,
Philly.
that's it. If I ever really win the lottery, I'm going to do weird things. And I think one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to literally fly up and get a Philly steak and cheese and then fly back home.
Just for shits and giggles.
Just to do it. Just getting
Yeah,
a ticket. I'm getting a big sandwich and I'm coming out. So it's
yeah.
that's on my list for
Well, let me know
sure.
when you let me know when you win the lottery. I'll hit you up for some money and I'll take you out for steaks.
Let's do it. I'd love to.
Awesome,
Well,
buddy.
hey, man, it's great to meet you. Thank you for
Yeah.
taking a minute out
Oh,
today.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. And before we get into your life, got a lot going on. How did you survive COVID? The last 3 years was quite a
I
thing.
haven't gotten it.
Now, did you now what about just the effects of living through the pandemic? How did you
I mean,
do?
it made me more stay at home more. So I mean, I'm actually able to be in my office in my basement and not feel claustrophobic as much.
Yeah,
Um, but now I'm starting to realize I gotta get out in the world again, start networking for business and do that stuff again. But I found online communities that made sense for me. Like Indie Hall was one of the first co-working spaces in the nation. They went all online, and they're based in Philadelphia, Independence Hall, hence the name Indie Hall. Yeah,
yeah,
they'll play on the name.
yeah.
And so that's the community I'm still part of, and it's just been great. It's just been so much fun.
Does it
Like,
freak you out?
not the COVID thing, but being able to kind of reinvent yourself a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, and I think a lot of us recalibrated. There was a lot of things where we got the mirror right in front of us
Mhm.
during this time. Are you
Yeah.
freaked out at all that you haven't gotten it?
No, I'm curious why I haven't
Yeah.
gotten it. I'm like, it's kind of bizarre. Like I have not gotten it. I mean, I've been relatively cautious about it, but I'm surprised I haven't gotten Omicron because everyone gets
Yeah.
Omicron, and it's sort of
Uh-huh.
it's the endemic COVID that we're gonna have for the rest of our lives until we eradicate it, which we're never gonna because it's our country and go figure. But like it's gonna be like the flu. Like I just read something on Mastodon, which I'm very big on the Fediverse and like the alternatives to like Reddit and Twitter and all that stuff. And one person posted something up from I think it was the conversation, and it said that like Omicron's fifth wave is coming around. I'm like, all right,
Right.
that's not a wave. It's just it's people are getting it. And we're knowing about it. It's not as deadly as it was.
No.
It's just like it sucks when you get it. And if you get it mild, it sucks even worse. It sucks really bad when you get it really bad because you're risking your life. It sucks really bad when you get the sniffles because you're quarantining for at least 3 days,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because you don't want to get anyone else sick, but you don't feel that miserable. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's like, oh, this sucks. But but if you're doing, if you're smart about it, you don't want anyone else sick. So you're like, our plan is I'd sleep in the basement. Yay.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I take a lot. I take a lot of vitamin D. So I take like a lot of
That
vitamin D.
that's the other part of it too, really taking care of yourself and the vitamins. But I think Fauci said early on, and no one I don't think was really paying attention that most of us are going to get it. It's going to happen.
Well,
Herd
everyone gets the
immunity,
flu. Everyone gets the flu.
right? Yeah. So
It's
it's going to
and the flu
spread.
is and the flu is a coronavirus.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone said, "Oh, it's the coronavirus." Well, that's not really right because coronavirus is a flu, it's the rhinovirus, it's a bunch of different viruses that are all kind of coronaviruses. And I'm not a scientist. I don't play one on TV. I'm a
Right.
marketer and former journalist. But like,
Yeah.
COVID-19 is just another type of flu, in my
Uh-huh.
opinion. It's weird. It's bizarre. What it does to you is strange and abnormal. But what this world's going abnormal. So
Yeah.
why not have a weird disease out
It
there? Yeah,
fits.
it
It
fits
totally
exactly.
fits.
Exactly.
So you had mentioned what you do, but let's really kind of break this down a little bit more. I'm
Yeah.
going to hypothetically put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids at a
Oh
career day.
boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Third graders, one of them looks up at you and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Oh boy. I say, oh boy. How do I do it without cursing? Number one. No.
Right, exactly.
No, but also I would say like I'm a digital marketer by training. I do everything from websites through SEO. I go all the way up to digital marketing strategy. I usually coach people how to fish when it comes to implementation of social media. I mean that like you want to get a kid right out of college who's going to be inexpensive, who wants that job to get the job, to get into the business, all that kind of stuff. Give them the opportunity to implement it, and so I'll coach that person or that team on how to implement their social media strategy because it makes more sense for you to do it yourself because you're there at the locations, you're there at your location, and you're able to do it better than if I could do it remotely. And then we do email marketing and by happenstance we do the podcast production for some people.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, how did this journey begin for you? How did these seeds get into you? Where were you born and raised, and how did it all start?
Well, I was born and raised just outside of Philadelphia. I'm just outside Philadelphia right now. I'm like one of those people that calls Bucks County, Philadelphia. We're in the next county up. I mean, Philadelphia is contiguous with the county of Philadelphia, so Philly. It's not like New York. There's boroughs, counties, all that stuff. Philly is Philly County, and right above it is Bucks County. I'm just in the middle of Bucks County. I'm the county seat of Doylestown. But I grew up in a town called Yardley, which is a little bit closer to Philadelphia. Born and raised there, loved it. Went to high school in the western suburbs, which was a trek to say the least. Every day, the high school took the train every day. Went to the University of Delaware, left with a journalism degree. Then decided that I was going to go into journalism for a while, and so I did that. And six years of doing that, and decided, all right, I'm burnout. I overdid it. I did it to the best of my ability. I was a night cops reporter, so beat reporter, covering action scenes and all that gnarly stuff. Left that. My then fiance, my now wife, is like, well, you've been doing web design on the side for all this time. Why don't you do whatever else you should be doing? Start a business, get some experience, get a job. Well, 15 years later, I've had one foray into getting a job and decided I did not like corporate. I worked for Merck for about a year and a half in one of the subsidiaries, doing their social media for them. And corporate, who can you piss off what day, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So in long shot, that's what I would tell. That's my origin story.
yeah,
It's that and then 15 years later, I'm still doing it.
yeah. Yeah. So, do you ever still have that journalism bugging you?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I'm doing Entrepreneurs Enigma, which is my podcast, and it's all me just asking questions and chatting, and it's so I still have that. I still do a weekly newsletter. I mean, I don't know how I find time to do all this stuff, but called Marketing and Junto, and then Goldstein Media is the main agency. So
It's
Entrepreneurs, and
passion.
I actually had another podcast called Digital Marketing Dive, which had 3 seasons, and I put it on hiatus because I don't have time to do 2 podcasts, a newsletter, and a business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what makes you tick? What is it inside of you that gives you the fire to do all of this?
Lots of caffeine.
There you go.
No, lots of caffeine. No, I just think that I have shiny object syndrome. I'm ADD to the hilt,
Yeah,
and well, let's not leave out the H because I'm definitely have the H. I'm ADHD to the hilt, and I'm always just kind of being creative and loving trying new things. Like that's what I love about the Fediverse right now with Mastodon, and there's Lemmy.world, which is picking up because of Reddit's debacle. Talk about putting a foot up your backside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that thing. So Lemmy and Kbin are starting up to kind of offset the Reddit exodus, and then there's Muskie over there who just recently got rid of the block feature.
Yeah.
Really? So who knows? So this is what I think Web3 is. I don't think it's Bitcoin. I don't think it's decentralization on the blockchain. I think it's decentralization into little communities online that all federate to each other. So that's really a shiny object, but I help moderate some of the bigger instances on the web right now. So I sat down yesterday. I'm like started to go through some like gnarly posts. I have empathy for the Facebook moderators because I don't see as bad stuff, but I've seen some pretty like, all right, suspend it as fast as possible. Suspend that account. Suspend that account. Like, come on, guys. That's.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to send that over to the FBI. It hasn't happened yet, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you find something that's like really questionable, you get it out to the right people. I mean, it's all a bunch of volunteers running the web right now. It's back to like the 1990s again. It's kind of fabulous.
Yeah. Kind of like that Wikipedian idea, how it all began, where it was, of the
Yeah,
people for the
fantastic.
people.
Yeah, and there's no
So,
ads and stuff. It's fantastic.
yeah, for sure.
No
So,
algorithm though, which is kind of a little bit of a bugger, but
yeah, right, right, right. So let me ask you this: as someone that has a journalistic bug in you and is an honest guy, do you think that we're going to go somewhere bad with AI? What do you think is going to happen with that?
AI, that is a good question because AI, I've been racking my brain about this. It's really cool and it's helpful. I think it can go south, like everything else goes south
Yeah,
eventually. I don't think it's going to kill us. I don't think it's a mass extinction event. I think we're going to kill ourselves with climate change before AI gets a chance to even go Terminator on us, to be
yeah,
perfectly honest. I
mhm,
mean, just the fact that the Canadian wildfires made Doylestown look like we were on Mars, and
yeah,
Philadelphia looked like we were on Mars, and then New York looked like it was Mars in a dust storm.
yeah,
And it wasn't even our fires. It wasn't even our country that was having the fires. Says something. We're going to leave that alone because it's political, can be politicized. I don't think it is. I think something's going on. We got to figure out what's going on and combat it. And that's
yeah,
all there is to it.
yeah,
Red, blue, whatever the heck you are, green, purple, like whatever. It's just there's something going on. Call what you will, but I shouldn't have to go and get an air filter for the house
right.
because of wildfires happening up in Canada. So I'm not sure I answered your question there,
Yeah,
but
no, 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 you did. No, you did. No, you
I did
actually
good.
did. Absolutely. Let me ask you this: who's been kind of a hero for you in your life?
I have a few. I mean, obviously my parents because they kind of gave me the entrepreneurial bug early on. My dad's a microbiologist and CSO of a microbiology company. He keeps starting these companies and you know developing them, and he was trying to find a cure to cancer. So that's kind of cool. And my mom's a psychologist, so for better or for worse, she's a Jewish mom who's a psychologist. So let's just take that in right there.
Yeah,
Jewish mom is a doting mom. God, I love her. And then she's a psychologist, so she's a PhD of education on top of the doting. It can be a little much at times, but
yeah,
man, I love her. And but she has always been encouraging of my craziness, of my like, oh, he's on to something else. Let's see what he wants to, what's he up to. So and she's kind of cute. She also helps me keep me grounded. So love you, mom.
nice. Let me ask you this: as a journalist, who would be a dream interview for you? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
As a journalist. I mean, I talked to Guy Kawasaki on the podcast, which was pretty neat.
Yeah,
The Apple evangelist, and I've talked to Biden on the phone as a cub reporter at the school newspaper at University of Delaware because he was at University of Delaware grad.
yeah.
So President Biden is the reason why I went into journalism. I can tell you that right
Wow,
now
that's great.
because he was willing to talk to me on the phone, albeit briefly because he was
Yeah,
a senator at the time, very busy. But I was just like, that's cool. And I was like, I have access to these people that when they want, and most of them want to talk to me because they want to get their view out.
yeah.
But dream interview now. Hmm. I would love to have interviewed Steve Jobs at some point. That would have been
Yeah.
cool. Even though I'm
Yeah.
not an Apple fanboy or anything like that, but that would have been interesting. And Guy Kawasaki is the second best thing.
Yeah.
Woz would be a fun one. I think Woz would be, Steve
Yeah.
Wozniak.
Hmm.
He seems like a very accessible, fun, kind of teddy bear of a guy.
Yeah.
Who also likes to put his foot in his mouth. So
Yeah.
that's always a fun one. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, literally, I mean, Woodward and Bernstein were my hero journalistic heroes. That was kind of the whole um romance of being a journalist. It's kind of
Yeah.
sticking to the man, finding out where the corruption is. I did sue a township when I was a journalist because they would not give me their tax records. And so went in and looked at their tax records. There was nothing they were hiding. I'm like, why wouldn't you just give me these instead of having me sue you to get access to this? And she's like,
Wow.
we just didn't think you needed access to it. I'm like, well, legally, it's public record.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, you just cause trouble for no reason.
Yeah.
Thank you for wasting my time.
That's crazy.
I looked at it, literally everything, all the I's were dotted, all the T's were crossed. There was nothing bad. Oh, they filled too many potholes or something like that. Like they spent way too much money on potholes. Like, oh my God, cry me a river.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write a praising article about you filling potholes.
Yeah. What was the best story you ever covered? What was the best one to this
Well, I
day?
have a weird one. I have a weird one for you.
Yeah, good.
About a donkey who could do math. That's when I
What?
knew I made it. That's when I knew I made it. Literally, it was a Sunday, and they said go out like an hour out into the country and read a story about. I think it was a pygmy horse actually that could do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division with its hoof.
Wow.
But and sadly enough, it was better at math than I am.
That's really cool. So like
Yeah,
legit, like calculator, it went for it.
yeah. It didn't use a calculator. It didn't have fingers, but
Well, yeah,
yeah.
or
But it did it did like this slashes and cross. It was very weird.
that does that make you believe a little bit more in reincarnation? I mean, was there
I
something
don't know
else
what the hell that was, honestly. Maybe it was Einstein coming back as a pygmy horse.
came back as a horse? That would be the story of this century, right?
Are you Albert? Yes, I am. I am Albert Einstein now, a pygmy horse.
Why the long face, fella?
Exactly.
Yes. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, you run into the 20-year-old version of yourself, and you
Yeah.
could give that younger version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life up to this point, what would you tell that young version of you?
Stop going to the bar so much. Like honestly, and I said, and here's a better beer. So back then when I was 20, I was drinking Natty Light.
Yeah.
Off the record.
Right, exactly.
But like, it was Natty Light because that's what I could get. But I would give him a better beer, and I would say like, look, just have fun.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it. You only live once, supposedly.
Yeah.
Well, or that we know about. Yeah.
Yeah, unless you come back as a
As a
horse.
calculating donkey. Yeah.
That's right. Man, that's gonna turn into some kind of meme or shirt right there. That's just too rich.
Yeah.
Um,
It's actually on my website. I think that is that the one, or is it a birthday party for a donkey? It was something for a donkey. It's on SethGoldstein.me. I have some clips up there.
so I was in detox as a journalist. I got into sports journalism. I was
Oh,
following the Royals back when it
oh
was
boy.
really dark, when Hal McRae like threw all of those recording devices off of his desk. It was dark. Like
Yeah.
David Cohn was there. It was kind of a rebuilding time. It was just, I was like, I'm out. I'm not covering this. I'm like, all of the people were underpaid, too many ulcers. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something else.
Yeah. Journalism is not a place to make money.
No, right. No, no, no.
Even
So
New York Times journalists, you think about it, they make maybe 100,000
yeah.
for what they go through.
Oh, dude.
It's and like the turmoil that they go through. I mean, if you get hazard pay if you go to Iraq, but I'm like,
Yeah. But I got back in because I live in a community called, well, I work in a community called Grandview, Missouri, and there was a donkey called Ebenezer, and he was a local
Ebenezer.
legend.
Yeah,
And people would feed him all the time. So I wrote a story, met the owners who have
yeah.
since passed, and I would always take my kids to go feed this donkey, and it would bray and go crazy. It was a legend. I made a website out of him.
Oh,
It became a whole thing, and he ended up passing back in 2011. But he had some caretakers that took care of him, built a barn. They were getting ready to put heat in. Our local utility company was going to put, special conduits so that we could heat
oh
his barn.
wow.
And it was a whole thing, dude. And I made bumper stickers that said "Long live Ebenezer," and I still sometimes to this day, 10 years later, will see it, and I'll be like, "Man, I can't believe it." But it's like he was. So when you said
Bumper stickers
donkey,
are hard to get off too.
what's
You gotta
that?
think. You keep your car for 10 years. It's hard to get those bumper
You
stickers off
can't
without
get
ripping the
that
paint.
off.
You can't get those suckers off.
It's like the
You need like a
half
heat
life of
gun.
nuclear nuclear waste. It's not
Yeah,
going
exactly.
anywhere.
You know, yeah. So you made a sticky sticker. So
Yeah, right, exactly. It worked. But anyways, it was cool. It was a great story to run after. So let me ask you this right now in your capacity as the digital marketer, what's been your best success story?
best success story has been helping like clients of all sizes really kind of get their handle on what they need to do online. But I mean, there's been some big companies I've helped out. There's been some small ones that like I'm being a real politician here, not answering the question, but I don't want to give actual names. But
Yeah, sure.
there's been some good clients that have been a lot of fun to build out, and it's fun when they appreciate you and they
Yeah,
have fun with you, and they don't flinch at the price. I don't try to rake people over the coals at the price. I just charge what it's worth.
yeah, yeah.
So
As a journalist too, you probably obviously love a good story. What was the first book you read that really made you think, man, I want to do this someday or I want to read more?
I don't know. That's a good question. As a journalist, what I would want to do again someday. I'm kind of living it right now. I'm doing the podcasting and I'm
Yeah,
enjoying that right now. And it's kind of something that you can always do, as long as you can sit down in a chair or stand up in front of a microphone.
yeah,
So not something like it's not like a 1 day thing. It's already happening kind of thing.
yeah,
You can kind of spin up your own news website, do your own thing. I mean, yeah, there's liability here and there. You make sure you don't libel anyone. But if you have a decent journalism degree behind you, you kind of know how not to do that
yeah.
or do it less likely. So
Sure. So let me ask you this. If you could go back in history and see an event firsthand before your eyes, what event would you love to see firsthand?
I would love to see Watergate and see them trying getting into the Democratic committee.
Yeah.
I would just like to see how they didn't get caught until they
Yeah.
got caught. Like it's
Yeah.
like how do you go in and not like so, that time period fascinates me.
What about the history of Philly sports? What would you have loved to have seen?
Well, I guess Mike Schmidt playing.
Yeah.
I was in the Philly sports more when I was a kid. I saw him on TV, but I don't think I ever saw him like play.
Wow.
In his rookie year, I'd love to have seen that.
My stepdaughter's boyfriend the other day literally went to a sports shop with my son and brought back a Sports Illustrated from 1980 with Mike Schmidt and George
Oh,
Brett on the front. They were getting ready to do the World Series, and it was like, here we go again. So it was
yeah,
weird you say that because it was literally just last week, and I
yeah.
hung it up on my wall, and I
You know
hadn't
why?
seen.
Do you know why Mike Schmidt's was my idol as a kid? He had
What's
a
that?
mustache like my father.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how I picked my idol out. Like he looks like he has a mustache like my dad.
That's it. That's the beauty of being a kid. We're born geniuses and we're buried idiots. Like that.
Oh, it's
That's
so true. Yeah,
you
it
know.
is literally that simple. And it turns out he actually was good.
Yeah,
One of the best.
I still remember, was it Tug McGraw when they won it? I remember he reached his arms in the air like Stretch Armstrong, like his arms went like 20 feet in the
Yeah,
air after he won. And
yeah,
then everybody collapsed on top. So, but I was really happy about you guys going to the series last year because it reminded me of the Royals of 14-15. There's
yeah.
just a grit that went to that team. And
It
then
was
the
amazing. It was also a great series, even though we lost.
dude,
The fact that we even made it to the World Series after midway through the season, we fired our manager. Like I
uh-huh.
was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
And I'm not even that much of a baseball fan anymore, but the fact I watched it, I'm watching this because this is like Philly pride. I mean, this is just like Philly grit, not taking crap from anybody.
hmm.
Like, if we had won that, it would. I mean, see, would have. I hate to say it, I mean, people were already climbing poles. That's kind of the
Oh,
joke. Like you can grease the poles as much as you want. We'll still get to the top of the pole.
yep. Well, I mean, and the fact that Bryce came back home and hit that home run at that pivotal point, man, you can't write anything like that.
That
That's
one game, I think, was it 3-2, whatever it was, when the outfielder, what's his name? I forget his name, but he caught the ball at the first hit.
yeah,
He got him out, and it was just like boom, 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 boom. And the Astros were like, what the? That
yeah,
one game, and then we'd suck the rest of the series.
right.
But we tried.
Yeah,
We got
right.
that
That's
far.
all.
And
Yeah,
also for the head coach of the Astros. I think isn't he retired now? Like, but he had been everywhere.
I know,
I
Dusty.
was happy for him
I was,
because
but god dang Astros, man. There's just that whole era. But you know what? Now it's coming out that the Yankees were doing it. God knows
everyone
who
was
was.
doing it.
Yeah, you know it. So
And the fact that they weren't doing it then
yeah, right.
that we know of. So
Yeah, yeah. It's just the nature of the beast for sure.
yeah.
So what's your future look like? Where do you want this to go? Your business, your podcast? What are you looking for? Like, let's say we talk in 5 years. What do you want to see happen?
I would love if Entrepreneurs and was just going great and it's still going. We're on season 6 or 7 at that point, maybe long. I mean, if I have seasons, I mean, really long season right now. Season one's like 100. It's gonna be like 200 episodes before I finally call it like, all right, I need a break for a week or two.
Yeah.
But Gold's to me, I would just love it. I would love it if it's more a bigger team and we're able to like really rock and roll, not worry about like when the next paycheck's coming in, that kind of thing. I mean, because it's still 15 years into it, it's still a perpetual startup.
We're probably kind of from the same generation here. Isn't it
Yeah,
amazing to think that this podcasting organism exists, that
it's
we can
incredible.
take control? It's crazy. Like I
What
hear
happened in the
Rogan.
last 10 years? In the last 10 years, what happened actually happened in the last 2 years? More happened in that than in the past 10 years. It's incredible.
And that I think that's the thing that got me. I've been doing interviews, especially in jazz radio. That's kind of my bread and
Yeah,
butter. I've been doing it since 2011. And then all of a sudden over the pandemic, everybody's like podcast, podcast, podcast. I'm like, this has been going on for a long time. So it
yeah,
seems like that time period brought the relevancy of this kind of indie radio to everybody's
yeah.
brain.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
I've been doing it since 2010.
yeah. It's so cool.
Podcasts, different. Mostly it's about digital marketing, but different podcasts about it. They last about a year, then they fizzle.
Yeah. Well, Joe Rogan, I just started kind of getting into him because he's kind of the top guy and I wanted to see what he was all about. And he always says this is one of the best times to be alive, especially for things like this. Like
Yeah,
I could have never imagined getting into journalism. Somebody would have told me at that little newspaper at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, one day you're going to be able to charter your own course with digital media,
it's
make your
wild.
own thing. It's crazy, man.
Oh,
It's
it's amazing. It's
yeah.
amazing what we can do nowadays.
It really is. So everyone out there has a perception of you. You have all these pockets of people, your listeners, your clients, colleagues, family, friends, but you're in control. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Crazy, lovable guy, who just likes to have fun.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah, it's that simple. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So if anyone wants to listen to the podcast, hire you, get into your world, where do they go?
Well, you can find me everywhere online. Like just look for Seth Goldstein. But you can go to entrepreneursenigma.com for the podcast, goldsteinmedia.com for the agency, and then just look for Seth Goldstein or Seth M. Goldstein. That'll definitely I'll come up for Seth M. Goldstein. There's a little bit more famous venture capitalist named Seth Goldstein. So we kind of compete for those listings.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so all
Yeah.
those digital doors will open. Yeah, I have it. There's a Joe Domino that is the owner of the Minor League Hall of Fame.
Oh
And
wow.
so yeah, I had a journalist, a major journalist one time contact me and was like, I'm writing a book about Cooperstown. And I'm like, why do you want me? What's going on? And he got the wrong guy.
I have an opinion. I don't think it matters, but
Well, we did. We had a really spirited talk and it was cool. And this guy was on when the Stephen Colbert report was on. He was on a week before, and his name is Zev Shavets.
oh yeah.
And I was like, but I interviewed him because I was working as a
Yeah, yeah,
correspondent for
yeah.
Current TV years ago. So, anyways, it was a happy accident. But yeah, when you get
It's
that name
fun.
kind of mixed in, it's fun.
It's fun. It's
Yeah,
definitely fun. I used to get his tweets all the time because he was at Seth and I was at Seth Goldstein.
gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
I was like, you mean this guy? You mean this guy? I would forward him the tweets.
That's one of my guilty pleasures. Sometimes when I tag people, if I don't get the right person, I'll be like, yeah, whatever. Maybe they'll just have a good time getting pulled into the jazz universe by
Yeah,
accident.
it's
So
always fun, buddy. It's always
it's
fun.
good. It's fun. That's the fun of this like ping pong digital game,
Oh, it's so much
happy
fun.
accidents,
Happy accents, buddy.
that's how they found penicillin, man. No one said we're going to grow, mold, and test it. It
That's how they
just,
found LSD too.
yeah, right. Exactly.
Like LSD, there's a whole thing about a lot of these psychedelics that they didn't know about until Someone's like, "What's this do?" Oh, things are getting trippy.
Right, exactly. Hey, man, this has been great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for
Thank you
taking
for having
time
me on.
out.
Yeah.
Best of luck to Philly. You know, hopefully you guys will get back and maybe we'll do it
We'll
again.
get back.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it again with Kelsey Brothers. That poor mom.
Man alive. She has to wear that split weird clothes.
That was kind of cool that she did that. That she got that made.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
And I love how the Kelsey Brothers hugged at the end and like,
Yeah.
it was good.
That's it. That's it. It was kind of cool. I don't know if you watched the NBA Finals last night, but to see Denver, when you see a team win for the first time, that was kind of cool.
I'm sure they were climbing poles in Denver.
Oh, they have to, you know.
You gotta do that. You gotta climb the poles, climb the light fixtures.
That's right. It's wild, man. Well, hey, man, thank you again for taking time out.
Always.
Best of luck with the pods and everything you're doing. This is a joy, man.
All right, thanks, Joe. Appreciate
Cool.
it.
Take it easy.
Bye.
See ya.